G'day everybody and welcome back. Well, in this part of the journey we are heading from Zion, the national park, all the way up through to Yellowstone. And this left us in a little bit of a quandary because we were heading a fair way north into a fair altitude, probably in the proximity of about 7,000 to 7,500 feet, depending on where you are in Yellowstone. And this means snow, and it also means colder temperatures, even though we are smack bang in the middle of spring. They'd had a very late snowfall in Yellowstone, and that had also topped the level of the snow up to what we were told being in the vicinity of about 12 feet of snow. 12 feet is enough to bury me twice. And snow is not something we are over familiar with in our part of Australia. So we aimed initially for the south end of Yellowstone, thinking maybe that might be a little bit warmer.
Utah. More Utah. We're in Utah still. Countryside's changed a little bit. Looks a bit more like New Zealand, but here's Elle's driving. How are you feeling today, honey bun?
Well, I'm doing alright. We've just not long come out of the Golden Corral, which is one of our favourite eating places. It's like $14 a head. You can eat everything you possibly can.
Which we did.
In fact, we've eaten so much we're not even going to bother with dinner tonight.
No.
We left Zion National Park 3 hours ago.
Yeah.
And then, so it was sad to see that place go. Really liked it.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, but of course Yellowstone's the next big adventure. And I've got Google set for our next destination's an hour away, but we've just set it for the cheapest fuel on the way. And Google is awesome at this.
Yeah.
And the average fuel price at the moment is about $3.90, something like that.
Oh look, $3.69 there.
Well, we've found $3.50.
Okay, so alright.
So it's 5 minutes to our $3.50 per US gallon fuel.
Okay, we've got half a tank left, so yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So it was getting up over $4, nearly $5 there at one stage per gallon. Right. Yeah.
It seems to be getting cheaper as we go further north.
Yeah.
But if I see a good deal and we have room for it in the tank, it's worth.
Yeah, it's worth it. Awesome. Good job. We'll talk soon.
And mindful that we only do approximately 1 to 2 hours a day in driving, our first accommodation was yet another Harvest Host Rolly's Red Barn that had some startling goods and strawberries for under $1 a punnet.
Oh, it was a nice view. Waking up to that this morning.
Lots of snow, but no cold. You don't understand.
No, it's not cold, so it's a bit weird.
Warm.
But yeah, lovely to see a bit of snow in the mountains.
And then another 2 hours up the road from Rolly's Red Barn took us to yet another Harvest Host. We were aiming for the south entry of Yellowstone. And this Harvest Host was a pretty appropriate stop on the way. Beautiful people and a beautiful place with beautiful views. And only 2 weeks prior, they were practically snowed right in there. But first step, the library in Heber City. Probably the most beautiful library we have ever seen in our lives. I for one am certainly no scholar, but libraries are a nice quiet place to get in, do some YouTubing, and maybe read up about the local area. And just up the road from there was the Cloudy Owl, which would be our accommodation for that night.
Hello. This is our Harvest Host. And what a view. This is a rescue animal farm. We've got rescued chickens, ducks, geese, a donkey, some horses, some goats. Alan, oh no, he's not rescue, he's with me. It's just a beautiful little farm in Heber City in Utah. So these are the goats, the rescue goats. And there's somewhere. Hello. Yeah, this poor horse has arrived here to be rescued. A few injuries and not treated very well. It's a bit spooked at the moment, so we can't get too close. It's okay. Hello. Aren't you handsome? Aren't you handsome? Yes, you are. Come here. Come on. Oh, yes, you're beautiful. You're beautiful, aren't you? It's okay. And Baxter likes the motorbike. He loves motorbikes, apparently. Bye, Baxter. Bye-bye. Loves the motorbike, but too much is trying to follow us. Go inside. Come on.
For a relatively small dog with short legs, Baxter sure could run. We seem to have created an exceptional love for farms, specifically rescue farms, but the time comes you've got to leave, so we got on the road again, and before you knew it, we were in Wyoming.
On the border of Wyoming and Utah. There's lots of wildlife. We've just seen some deer. Hopefully we'll get to see some more. Springtime. Snow's just starting to melt in a bit of water now.
All this was pretty foreign to two Australians who've come from an area that barely freezes. Snow melt is a side effect of snow, specifically when the snow melts, of course, and then you end up with large amounts of water, in this case along the roadside, surrounded by snowy peaks and occasionally ice over the top of it. It makes for a stunning landscape. To the far south of Yellowstone is a town called Cokeville, and appropriately a motel called the Hideout Motel. These were really accommodating people, and we stayed there a little bit longer than expected because we were waiting for the weather to turn, and it wasn't turning quite as quick as we expected. And remembering that traditionally we live at 28 feet above sea level, and now that we were at over 7,000 feet above sea level, we were experiencing something that we had never experienced before. Refreshing?
I'm just trying, it's got no taste or smell. It is very weird.
Well, so this is Cindy getting rid of her altitude sickness
Boost.
by vaping on oxygen. Despite the pictures, however, the early afternoon to late afternoon temperatures were quite accommodating, and it certainly was not going to stop us getting on the motorbike and having a look around the local area. If you were standing in the same point that these photos were taken, maybe somewhere around the 1850s, there is a fair chance that you may have either been part of or witness to wagon trains coming over from the east. We were moving into territory which was synonymous with names like General Custer, and in this case, this was the very last bank that was robbed by Butch Cassidy. This was a bit of a novelty. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid was a movie I saw when I was about 10 years old, and to be now standing outside the last bank they robbed was pretty exciting.
Well, we've made it to the top of the mountain. It's actually a ski field. I think Al's hoping there's going to be a toboggan left lying around so he can go for a bit of a run, but the ski fields are actually closed because it's now spring. Oh, in true style, he found a toboggan. So where are you going now, honey? Okay, have fun. I'll get you on the way down, all right?
And after hiding out at the Hideout Motel for probably in the vicinity of 3 days, we come to the conclusion that the south end of Yellowstone just was not going to warm up to the temperature we wanted. So we took a stab in the dark, knowing that we still needed to head north in order to get out of America at a reasonable period of time, and shot round to the west side of Yellowstone, where the entry is in a place called West Yellowstone.
Well, it's actually snowing. We're just leaving Cokeville and it's just started snowing. Yes, so we've changed our plans. We're going to go to Idaho Falls instead of into Afton and Jackson and through the Grand Teton Ranges, which would have been pretty, but it's just going to be too cold. So we're backtracking just a little bit.
And on our journey to West Yellowstone, we found ourselves yet another campsite at a slightly lower elevation to sit and wait for a turn in the weather. So what did you think of Beaver Dick campsite, Cindy?
Yeah, it was alright.
Beaver Dick campsite is on the way up to Yellowstone, but we just can't quite get to Yellowstone at the moment because it's too cold at night. We don't want to freeze. Having said all that, Beaver Dick is like
cheap. It was $10 for the night.
$10 for a night, and it's pretty neat, tidy.
Had a rubbish bin. I'm happy.
And they play disc golf there. So it is right next to a river, but we're going to move to somewhere where it's totally free. Probably not quite as well manicured, but it'll do. And from there, we found ourselves finally on the way to Yellowstone.
We're on our way to Yellowstone. It's about 47 miles away.
Having said that, heading around the west side of Yellowstone, the snow only seemed to be getting deeper. And a deviation up a road to have a look at a potential campsite left us in a position where there was so much snow on the road we could not turn around. But we did end up here. Well, I've just tried to cross quite a bit of snow to get to these waterfalls. And I was kind of wondering, is it worth it? It was a 1 mile trip. The only reason we're here is because we got stuck on a road and couldn't turn the van around. Now, I haven't got to the waterfall yet, but I tell you, that river is pretty busy. This brought to light just another beauty of snow melt, and that is, of course, the amount of water heading down the rivers. And I was getting a little bit frustrated not that long ago because I couldn't turn the van around and get off this road that we were stuck on because the snow's so high on either side of the road. But I'm now starting to understand why I ended up here. And eventually we ended up at a lake called Henry's Lake, which is part of a state park. Henry's Lake was surrounded by snow, of course, and in some cases still had ice on it. However, it was sitting just above freezing, and this was probably good enough for us.
After driving around a few campgrounds, they're not actually open for another couple of weeks. We found this one that actually isn't officially open, but they're getting ready. And it's cold. Well, it's not too bad during the day, but it's cold at night, so we can actually got electric hookup. So this is our campground for the next 3 nights.
And despite how it looks, we were actually getting the best of all worlds. The temperatures during the day were quite nice. The scenery during the day was stunning. And we were in spring, which is also the breeding season for the local wildlife.
I just wanted to get a photo of the sign.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Did you get a photo of Ellen?
That's right. That's why you know you're in Yellowstone.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Sedona, Zion, all the way up to Yellowstone. It's a line straight up the Highway 15, and they all are seriously different parts of the world. But definitely the first thing that'll strike you in Yellowstone, above the scenery of course, is the amount of wildlife.
Buffalo poo! Woo.
And it wasn't long before we were wondering, would we really love to see the wildlife, or should we be somewhere a long way away from where we were? Our only encounter with bison in our entire lives prior to Yellowstone was in Oklahoma, and they proved themselves to be pretty damn aggressive. So when this happened, we weren't exactly sure how to react. Remembering, of course, that we are on a motorbike with zero insulation from nature. And while calving season is an exceptional time to see wildlife, it is also a relatively dangerous time because it comes with protective parents who probably don't need humans getting too close to them.
buffalo today. We got our wish.
Yeah, we got our buffalo.
Oh. Oh, absolutely amazing.
This could be the 6-hour hold up. Oops, sorry.
Getting awfully close here, honey.
You can always turn around.
Okay.
You can always turn around. It wasn't long, however, before we realised that turning around just wasn't an option. And my thoughts were maybe I could go to the right if the buffalo were coming to the left. However, they didn't really give us that choice, because before we knew it, they were coming from the right and the left.
Going right past us. On both sides. Both sides.
And being that the herd had finally passed us, we thought we were safe to get off and discuss the matter. But what you don't see here is another 2 buffalo bison running down the road together to catch up with the herd. So Cindy, what did you think of that?
This is a closer comfort, but that was awesome.
That was seriously, I was like, didn't even want to breathe. I don't think I breathed for about 4 minutes.
No, I wanted to get the photos. I just didn't want to move. I'm thinking they could go us any time. God, that was amazing.
Oh man. Yellowstone was America's first national park, and part of the calling that gave it that right was the thermals, the geysers, the steam coming fresh out of the ground, which is just an absolute glamour of beauty. And finally we made it to Old Faithful. Just like me, Old Faithful.
Yes, honey. And me. Apparently it's going off in a few minutes. We just got here in time, so yay. Oh, is that it? That's it. Oh. Guys, wow.
You can hear it rumble.
Yeah. Oh! Oh!
You smell a bit eggy.
Oh, definitely haven't showered tonight.
Yellowstone is also one of America's largest parks. To go from east to west is anything between 2 to 2.5 hours. That's providing you don't get held up by bison. And to give you an idea of the size, it actually covers parts of Idaho, Wyoming and Montana. So that's 3 different states. Now, smack bang in the middle, right next to Old Faithful, is this beautiful, beautiful log cabin inn. Naturally, there is much more to Yellowstone, but this video is getting around the 30-minute mark. So I'll bring it to an end as we head out of Yellowstone and make our way through Montana towards the Canadian border.